Okay, now explain this. When people take on too much responsibility, what does that look like?
Too much responsibility. It's when well, it's one of the facets of being a rescuer. When they try, how did I unpack this for myself? I unpacked it for myself in a way that I just wanted to, well, probably be loved. So when you take on a huge amount of responsibility, you want to attract attention to say, like, love me, tell me what a good job I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm so this and that. I don't know. I helped everyone. Everyone likes me. I'm so smart and beautiful. So pat me on the head, tell me that you need me, and tell me that you love me. It's like all of this is done out of that pain. This is what I personally, well, subjectively dug up within myself, pulled out, and realized that this is also a game played through pain, hyper responsibility. When they go into the opposite position, the victim,
Uh-huh.
it's just another extreme. When through saying I can't, I'm all like, I'm so weak, I need help, I don't know. For example, I've been working here for 20 years and I'm not getting promoted. Please help me. Well, I mean, it's some other extreme where you're also playing this game. But the point in both cases is that we're trying to get love through negativity. But this is probably the biggest illusion of this world, that we can get love from someone else. But it doesn't work that way. First and foremost, love is a state that exists within us, and we are capable of giving love to ourselves. Not trying to get it through taking on responsibility, and not trying to get it through guilt or self-pity.
Okay? But tell me, if a person watched this and thought, am I taking enough responsibility for my life, for my own life? How can you determine that? And surely it's not evenly distributed throughout life, there must be areas where you can take responsibility and others where you don't. And how do you figure that out?
Overall, what does it come down to? I mean, if you were to draw a wheel of balance and look at it, then it probably becomes clear where we've taken responsibility and where we haven't. For instance, you look at health, what's going on there? You look at physical activity, what's going on there? You look at, well, relationships, what's going on there? Children, what about them? Work, what's going on with your work? Money, what's going on with your money? And it very often happens that you're more or less okay in some areas, but in others you're falling behind. But if you pay attention to where you're falling behind, most likely there's just some fear sitting there. Because responsibility, it's always scary.
Yes, because there will be consequences, most likely, if you do something and suddenly it doesn't work out.
Yes, but here, this is a life hack. You allow yourself to make mistakes. Well, there's no other way. And you, even when you make a mistake, you shouldn't feel guilty about it, because otherwise you'll never learn. It's normal.
Okay, look here. We both generally agree that responsibility gives you freedom. But let's be honest. We know that when you take responsibility, life becomes more interesting, much more interesting, but also more difficult in terms of having to make a lot of decisions. And so the further you move along, the more weight those decisions carry. And here, when the decision is, okay, you're deciding which restaurant to go to, that's one level of responsibility. But when you're deciding where to invest $100,000, that's a different responsibility. And here, you don't exactly have a desire to make a mistake. You really want to make sure that, well, at the very least, you earn a little bit from it, right? And so you can make a mistake, of course, if you have a financial cushion. But if you don't have a cushion, how do you make such decisions? What helps? Because there's fear here. Well, I understand that if it's your last bit of money, you're not ready to risk it. And you kind of have to take responsibility for that. Because even when you do nothing, essentially, you've chosen to do nothing. And you also have to take responsibility for that. In both cases, you're making a choice. It's just the consequences will be different.
Yes. I can probably explain it this way, especially regarding money. How to understand how to take responsibility when you need to take some action, specifically with money. So there's this idea that you try. It's not like you had nothing and suddenly you have $100,000 and you need to invest them. In any case, you came by this money somehow. If you have it, you came by it somehow, which means you already have an understanding of how to act. For example, at a time when, say, your income is, I don't know, let's take the most basic, $1,000. This is the very beginning of your life. You've just started working and it's important. This money, for example, you decided, let's say, to invest it somewhere and you need to do it like around $100 at a time. And 6 months later, it turns out that $600 just went down the drain because what you invested in turned out to be a failure. At that moment, the main task is not to spiral into, oh man, how could I, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now I roughly understand in my body through these situations what it means. Then you continue to keep searching in the same way. And here's the best part, we're back to the body again. If you know how to feel, then you will feel. What to buy, what car to buy, what clothes to buy, and where to invest your money, because it's all about interaction. That is, you'll learn to feel where your energy is. For example, how does it happen? Before buying a car, go around to all the dealerships, sit in this car, then in that car, then in another car, and feel what you feel in each of them. It's not like you just saw a car from the outside and that's it. Maybe you like it on the outside, but you don't like it on the inside. But you need to connect with it, try sitting in it, and you'll know if it's yours or not. For example, you chose a car, got behind the wheel, and you're driving, and you realize that when you're driving, you experience these feelings. And you're like, you can...
I did well.
Totally. And this shows that you have a sense or intuition that you chose exactly what multiplies you. You invested in the car, right? You did. Did it multiply you? It did. Because at some point, you really start to realize that all of a sudden your average check has grown. Maybe you notice that you have started buying slightly more expensive things than before. I do not know. Perhaps your salary has improved. And it all somehow forms itself because in your internal vibrations, when you allowed yourself this car, you grew. And by taking responsibility for investing based on feeling, receiving, like feedback, energy, from this purchase, you multiplied. And the same will happen with an apartment, I don't know, maybe jewelry, what else, trips abroad. That is everywhere you buy something and interact in some way, you do it through this feeling. Not because there's a discount and it'll be a good deal, but because it will bring me pleasure and that pleasure will then, be reflected in my life. And then investing $100,000 somewhere won't be so scary because you already know how to feel. And you know that if I put this money in here, then okay, at the very least, I won't lose. And at most, something will come of it. Well, if it works, great. If not, okay. And you won't be shaking so much inside anymore.
Right? Let's think some more about what else we can say about responsibility.
Yes, responsibility.
What's important to consider?
That responsibility. I don't know how much we're going to talk about this topic here or not, but I'll still say briefly that another huge responsibility for any woman is about understanding what my body wants, about pleasure in the body. If you don't understand where in your body you receive pleasure, then there's no point in demanding it from your partner. That's very important.
So, to learn for yourself, to recognize where it lives in your body.
In your body.
And explore it?
Yes. So this means that if you're already an adult and you're in a relationship, you have a partner, it means that it's your responsibility to pick up a book. There are so many of them. There are many great authors to read, to find out, to understand, to try, to test, and to realize. How does it feel? In other words, not to shift this responsibility onto your partner, but to take this responsibility upon yourself. And then there won't be all these frustrations, some kind of, drama, sadness, and everything else, because you clearly and precisely know what you want.
Well, I think in this context, once you've befriended your body, it'll be much easier with partners in general.
Yes. I think you can tell us about that.
Yes, I can. Oh, I feel like the body really does make it very clear who is right for you and who is not. So, if you are talking to someone and you want to interact with them in some way, like maybe hold their hand, you might think, okay, so we move forward. If your body, for me, for example, automatically, if a person touches me, I've had it where they accidentally handed me a jacket or just touched me somehow, and my body flinches, I just know that's it. We're done talking. I don't force myself just because he's a good person or he has some assets or he wants to do something nice for me. I just know. For me, it's a no. I say no to that because always after this no comes the next great yes.
Yes, which again is about removing those illusions. Illusions exist exactly until the moment you don't know how to feel with your body. As soon as you've learned to feel with your body, you don't have those illusions anymore. And it applies again, well, to everything in your life. It applies to your self-realization, your partner and children, because through this ability to feel, well, many moments in life instantly have a solution. And responsibility, no matter how it might sound, responsibility, I'd agree with the fact that it's freedom. Yes, in the moment it's hard. Even like, just remember that moment when you moved for the first time, then moved once again. What was that like? It would seem like a girl, well, all alone, and such a huge responsibility, right?
Well, I don't know. Somehow in my case, my psyche works a bit differently. Yes, it was hard, all those moves, but my mind is like, well, we're moving. You just take it and map out a plan for it. Sometimes it's hard to settle on the idea, especially when moving from a country where life was cheaper to a country where life is more expensive. I had to like spend a whole month getting used to the idea that you'll be paying double for an apartment.
Yes,
And it's like that every time. But on the other hand, every time you get some kind of expansion, you get new ideas, new people around you who show you different scenarios, and you're like, it's so great that I did this.
yes. So taking this responsibility and stepping, as it were, towards, well, at that time, probably fear.
To the unknown fear, yes.
Yes, the unknown. In the end, for your courage, certain like benefits come your way. There is this saying, fortuna aju was in Latin. Well, okay, I can't remember it now. The point is that fortune favors the bold. And so it is. Luck, success, it's given to those who are ready to face fear and, as they say, not be afraid to take responsibility.
So we take responsibility, go into the unknown to face fear, and ask ourselves a global question. What would the world look like if everyone took responsibility for their own lives?
Cool, yes.
Thank you for your attention. That's it. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I decided that I need to upgrade my thinking globally.